So you had a couple other notes there. I want to make sure. Did you cover the things you wanted to talk about for this?
So a couple things that I always get, and this one's going to go way back to the beginning, which I should have brought up earlier.
Fine.
I am always touched by the drugstore scene, like several things that happen in the drugstore. So,
yes. That's
so
Mr.
so
Gower.
young George, yeah, yeah. He gets into the drugstore, and so Mary's sitting at the bar, like soda fountain area, and you can tell when he walks in that she's just like, ooh, she's in love with him. I mean, she has been like her whole life basically, and I mean, who could blame her? But so the first thing that comes to mind is the part where he's talking, and he starts talking a little bit about like when he grows up, he's gonna leave the city, and he's gonna do be an architect and do all this, build all these big skyscrapers in the big city. And he had, of course, when he did save his little brother, he had lost hearing in one of his ears because he had gotten a bad cold. And I love the part where like he's like leaning over to do something. I think he's making her a drink.
Yeah.
And
she's like, is this your bad ear?
Yeah, she's like, is this? And she's like whispering it. And she's like, is this the ear you can't hear out? And she's like, George Bailey, I'm gonna love you till the day I die. And he can't hear her because she's is talking into his, and so he didn't catch on to it. But that is so sweet. And then of course the other scenes are a little more heartbreaking, because like Mr. Gower, he's in the back, it shows him he's in the back, and he just looks torn up, like he's
drinking.
He's drinking. He's pretty much sloshed by this time.
Yeah, he's very distraught.
Yeah, he's very distraught, and you're wondering like why, he's the druggist. He owns this drugstore, the soda fountain.
Right.
And your first thing is like, what is wrong with this guy? Like he's running a drugstore, like he's in the back, like putting people's prescriptions together,
and he's like popping pills.
Yeah, like is
he
like what's going on with this guy? And and so you're trying to kind of figure that part out. And then it kind of goes along, and all of a sudden George like sees the note sitting by on the counter that says that his son had died. And like instantly, like once you see that and know what's going, and all of a sudden he just gets this like, even as a young boy, he gets such like compassion all of a sudden. He's like, oh my gosh, like I know, like I know what's wrong with him. Like he just lost his son, and so he goes back there to kind of like...
Yeah, but then like they have that scene where like the poison capsule...
Yeah, so he's like putting this prescription together, and George, he goes over there and he's like, you need to get this prescription, you need to go deliver this, and he's really gruff about it, and you need to, take it now to this little boy that's got, I think diphtheria or whatever. And he kind of looks at it, and he knows something's not quite right with it, and he ends up trying to deliver it, but then he realizes that this is wrong. Like he has put the wrong pills, like it would have poisoned this little boy that he was trying to deliver.
And they never talk about the little boy,
and they don't really talk a whole lot about it.
Yeah.
But that it's supposed to be for this little boy. It's supposed to be a prescription, someone in town that...
See, it's good that you're saying it, because I'll be honest, as a kid, and so many times when I watched that scene always confused me. I never was like, wait a minute, did he poison his son? Like, I always got confused when I was younger.
Yeah, so he's supposed to be, it's supposed to be this family got, I don't know if I'm saying it right, diphtheria. It's kind of an old, if you watch some of those old like movies, old westerns and stuff like that, it was something that I'm imagining it was some sort of a, almost like if you got poisoned by something, like not really a flu, but it was like some sort of an infection, like something, maybe you drank water that was bad, like something was in the water, like a contamination or something. I don't know, it was something that was really bad, and it killed a lot of people, and a lot of young people, and people of all ages. But Not to get too grim, but yeah, so basically he's filling this prescription, and it's supposed to be for this little boy, or maybe it's supposed to be for his whole family, but there's a little boy I know
obviously,
involved.
like, he probably shouldn't even be, like, working that day because, like, he's all distraught.
Yeah, like, he shouldn't even probably be there.
But, like, he's probably got no one else to run it. It's a small town.
Yeah, and so little George is, like, you know, he sees that something's wrong, and he starts looking at the medicine bottle and, like, what he's putting into this, and he realizes that it's poison. He goes up to him, and he's like, he's trying to tell him, and he's trying, you know, like, he's like, he's so compassionate, because he runs up to Mr. Kraut, and he's like,
and he doesn't want to hear it. He's like, get the hell out of here.
He's like, get out of here. And he's like, I know that you're upset. I know that you're hurt. Like, he's trying to console him. And the guy, he's just like, he doesn't want any part of it. He's like, get away from me, like, whatever. He starts even hitting him to the point where his ear starts bleeding. And he's like, he finally gets the words out, like, you almost poisoned this little boy. Like, you put poison in the medicine. And all of a sudden he just stops and grabs him and hugs him, because he realizes, he's like, oh my gosh, like,
he could have jail.
Yeah, I could have killed, like, somebody could have taken this poison and died. And
which they show in the alternate version of George not existing, that he becomes, you know, like, he did jail for 20 years for killing a kid.
Oh,
like,
yeah,
he's a drunken
like the town drunk, now, and and he just was like miserable. Yeah, like, because he if you hadn't been there to tell him that this happened.
I also think it's pretty cool that most definitely, like, that experience, like, bonded them for life, because he never told anybody. Which really
he's like, I will never tell, and he ended up.
It's really remarkable.
Yeah, because then the next scene it goes to, you know, when George is older and he's getting ready to go off to college.
Gower buys him the suitcase.
He buys him the suitcase and has it inscribed with his name and everything. So, and then
that's cool.
Yeah, and it's almost like a kind of like a second dad, you know, type thing. Like, they've just really, like you said, bonded.
I like that.
Yeah, so that was one of that scene always gets me, because that's like the first. That's like, I'll instantly, like, get choked up, like, as soon as that part comes on. I'm trying to think. I know we touched on a lot of this other stuff when he's walking Mary home after the high school reunion, and and I love the part where they're dancing, you know, the Charleston, they're dancing, and those guys are like, which it was, I think, if I remember right, it was actually George's idea for them to build the pool underneath.
I don't know,
because they were talking about, because he said something about, like, your idea to build the pool underground or under the floor was a great, you know.
I don't know.
So anyway, the two jokesters that are like, oh, let's open the.
Well, because one of them wanted to dance with Mary.
Yeah, one of he was jealous, so he's like.
I'd be jealous too. I'd be like, this good-looking dude came in and took my lady.
Yeah,
like, I don't like that.
So I mean, he's like, he's jealous. He's like, we're gonna. I know how to open the floor up so
know that's a real pool. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was all like, that wasn't like a set or anything. That was an actual high school that had that pool there.
Yeah, and it was cool, and it was
awesome.
So they're dancing, and all these people are like, they're like yelling and all this commotion, and they think
getting close to the edge.
And he's like, oh, we must be really good.
They're actually doing that.
Oh yeah, they're like having a good old And they end up falling into the pool, and I love the part where, like, everybody just is like, screw it, I'm jumping.
Even like the principal of the
school,
the
principal
like
jumps in.
Whatever.
Because at first he's kind of like, no, get out of there, and all of a sudden he's like, just jumps in. Great. So yeah, that one, that's fun too. And then, and I always like the part where they see that old abandoned house, which eventually becomes their home.
The wish she makes.
Yeah.
The rock.
And they said that they actually had a person on the set that they were going to have throw her rock so that it would break the window. But she ended up doing it herself. They're like, she was actually a really good baseball player. She just threw it. She had good aim, and she actually did it. Okay. So that was another little fun fact that I learned, that she actually threw her own rock and broke the window. And I always thought it was cool that they ended up with that house, because it brings me to the other scene about during the Depression when all the people flood the bank. And they're trying to take all their money out, which was another touching scene, because he's trying so hard to, like, talk them into, like, it's going to be okay.
Well, he literally foregoes his own.
Yeah, his own honeymoon. Yeah. Like, they're on their way to, like, wherever they're going.
Go to Europe.
Yeah, they got like $2,000, and they're just going to go see. Yeah. And it's probably all their money that they receive from their family and friends and whatever stuff they've saved up. And he's like, yeah, she's just all of a sudden like, how much does everybody need? And he starts just divvying it up.
Mary gives it up.
Yeah, she's like, because she holds it up. And they just start divvying it out between all these people. And that's another touching scene because, you know, to be able to just... You know,
I want people to be able to have like opportunities, and unfortunately I'm going to be a realist right now. Money is a necessity.
Yeah,
I hate to say it,
unfortunately.
But like, you can be a great person and do a lot of stuff, but yes, unfortunately, if you don't have capital, if you don't have the means to do some of these things with money, then you're not going to be able to do some of these things, which that's a larger conversation actually outside of this, but
it definitely.
Can we move on to the messages?
Yes.
Because I have a way I think I'm going to do this, because I was going to take the time to like say them and then like unpack them, but we've already been kind of doing it, so I think I'm just going to be like boom, 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 just kind of like rattle them off, and then we can talk about if any of them really stick out. And
right before we start that, I just have one more fun little fact to throw out here.
Go ahead.
So did you notice, after, I know you said you've seen this movie several times.
Yes.
The black raven that's in the movie.
Oh, Uncle Billy's?
Like Uncle Billy's bird. I found out that is Jimmy the Raven, and he was used in a lot of the Frank Capra movies.
Really? So that was like a trained bird that they had, and they used him in other movies. I did not know that.
Yep.
That's
he said
really
he was in like 3 or 4 of his other movies. And then there was one point, and I noticed this, and I had not noticed this before, but it was right after, he'd lost all the $8,000, and he's sitting there at the desk, and he's distraught because he's like, I lost this money.
I can't think anymore.
Yeah, he's like, I just can't. And there's like a squirrel that climbs on his shoulder. I thought that was so cute, but I'm like, where did the squirrel come from?
Like why does he like? But Uncle Billy's weird, and like he's kind of a character. So him having a squirrel, which I'll tell you this, I don't think he'll mind me saying this because to be honest, I don't really talk to him that much. So sorry. I have an uncle. I won't say his name. So there's some privacy
Billy.
there.
We'll call him Uncle Billy.
Sure. My Uncle Billy. So he actually had a pet squirrel at one point.
I love squirrels.
No, legitly. I remember my mom, when she learned about it, she was really freaked out. And I think she saw it maybe once or twice and was always still ugh, this rat is.
They're so much fun to watch.
But yeah, I don't know how he somehow captured one outside, because he's this uncle of mine. He's always been a very kind of blue collar country lifestyle, not big city. He's I don't want to say a hick, but small town kind of simple man, very, very particular. But yes, he liked animals, and at one point he was able to somehow domesticate a squirrel. I don't even know how long it lived for, but I know for a fact that my uncle had a pet squirrel, and it was kind of weird, but I also didn't really see the harm as long as he didn't get rabies from it.
They're very entertaining. We had a squirrel family that was living in a tree in our backyard.
They're weird. I don't know.
They're very fun to watch. But I just thought it was cute
that's
that he had
with
this
the bird.
squirrel that just and
but
the bird was interesting.
Well, it's interesting with the bird because one thing I'm thinking of, and somebody else could look this up, but Hollywood, or there's a lot of movie studios that sometimes use similar animals in certain movies, and I know one of the very famous ones was Bart the Bear. He was a famous show bear that was used in a lot of movies, and I don't have his resume up in front of me, but I think
hearing about him.
But I think that's really cool. And that's kind of an aspect of Hollywood and movies in the entertainment industry as a whole that doesn't get talked about that much, is animal usage in there. We always see the scenes at the end of the credits where there's no animal was harmed in the making of this movie, which that's great. We like to know that. But I don't know. I think it's actually really cool, and I would love to one day, maybe on my podcast, talk to somebody that's an animal trainer for film specifically.
Oh, that would be
because I imagine think how difficult it must be. I mean, I don't care what kind of animal it is. Just think of it. I mean, there's enough that goes into just getting a shot right in general and the lines and making sure the actors are blocked appropriately and everything like that. But, you know, like, if an animal is, like, having to convey an emotion or needs to do something specifically, like, fascinating. Just absolutely fascinating. And kudos to the animals that never get praise. I'm giving you praise right now, animals. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, we love you, and we're happy that you will do movies.
Yes, and that brings me. Yeah, I just thought of, because it's not, you know, when you think of like animals being trained for certain things, you're thinking dogs or
dogs,
you know, dogs
cats.
Typically, you know, horses sometimes, you know, and there's so many animals that have been trained for movies that they're not the typical animals you would think. Like, one that sticks out in my mind is the little mouse on the Green Mile.
Yes.
Mr.
Absolutely.
Jingles.
Yes, Mr. Jingles, yes.
I love that little mouse because he'd sit there and he'd roll his little spool. And he just,
Yeah, a little tiny mouse.
Yes. And that always, every time I watch that movie, I just am in awe of that little mouse.
But I'll tell you what though, when that damn guard stomps on him.
I know, I want to smash his face, yeah.
He goes into the death chair.
Yeah.
Like in the electric chair.
He's going in the chair, like, without the wet sponge. Like, he's going in.
His ass could fry. I love the Green Mile. It's a great movie.
I know, I love John Coffey, and then he just brings him back. He just puts him in his hands, and I don't know how
real quick, because Green Mile is on the short list of films where I'll cry every time I see it, and in specific, I'm trying to think, because there's a scene in the movie that movie that always like gets to me. It always like fucking pulls on my heartstrings. I think it's the scene where he saves the warden's wife from the brain tumor. Oh, I get emotional with that because James Cromwell, which that is an underrated actor that does not nearly get enough credit.
Yeah, he's
fantastic actor, but I'm thinking about it right now. I get goosebumps. I got to do a podcast on the Green Mile at some point.
I know, that is such a good movie, and I know one of the things that always gets me in that movie, and this might sound weird, but the part where, because John Coffey is he's almost like, he's just like this big kid.
Well, Michael Clark Duncan, rightfully so, was nominated for an Oscar for that. And it's actually a shame that, like, I can't remember what he was up against that year as far as the other actors, but
I don't either.
He gave a hell of a performance.
Oh, yeah. And so one of the things that really gets me is the part where they take him to the movie theater. And he's just got like this. Yeah, he's like, they're like, what do you want to do? And he's like, I just want to see a picture, you know, like a picture show. And he just like, it's like you would have given him like the world at that point. Like, that's one thing that I'm sitting there like, oh.
Well, I think that's probably the other. I mean, it's not really a spoiler, but John Coffey, he gets executed. And the scene where they do that, where Tom
and they're
Hanks
all
has
crying.
They're all crying, but like he has like that monologue. I think it's either a voiceover or he has it shortly before the moment where he's talking about how like he's worried still, like to the end of like his days, that he's like, how in God's name would I be allowed into heaven after killing a miracle?
Yeah.
Like that. Oh my God.
Like an angel or whatever. I mean,
it's like executing an angel.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah, he's like, how can I ever live with myself but he had to.
And beyond that,
he had to.
And he's like, I deserve to be damned. Like I'll burn in hell. Like it's and the movie, very smartly so, it never really actually answers the question. It just leaves you as the audience member to ponder it. But anyway, this is not a Green Mile episode, but
no, but it is so good. But it just kind of reminds me of that, like just all the different animals that have been trained to do.
I'm glad you brought up the animals because it's not something I always even appreciate. Always I mean I knew of Bart the bear, but I didn't know of the bird,
Jimmy the Raven.
Jimmy the Raven. I wonder. It makes me wonder now because now we're talking about animals, and I gotta move on to the end.
And Clarice walks in.
And Clarice walks
right
in.
on cue.
Yeah, right on cue. I trained her to do that.
I figured you did. Come here.
But it makes me wonder the raven that they used in the Shawshank Redemption, Brooks's bird, the one that he lets go, because I bet that was a trained bird too, because he had to keep it in his jacket.
Yep.
I should look that up. Yeah, fascinating. Birds and animals and just animal training in movies. I mean, seriously, like it's like I absolutely love that people are able to do that, and it takes such skill.
And the animals are so smart, and people don't realize.
Oh, animals are in tunely. They're in tune to people's emotions, and dogs especially.
Mm-hmm. They know, and even cats. Like people I know.
I think Claire's
cats
about
get
to eat your paper.
Cats
but
get. Are you
it's okay.
snuggling up? Yeah, I think she is.
You don't mind if she does.
That's all right. We've already gone. We've gone over all
that.
those notes, so it's okay. You can snack on that if you want. Yeah, cats sometimes get a bad rap, but they are very.
Cats are fine.
Yeah, they.
A pet is like anything else.
They always say, "Oh, their cats are jerks. They don't like anybody. They don't want. They just like things on their own terms, but they're not like that."
No, in fact, I'm not going to say a cats or dogs thing because I can't stand it when people are like, "Ooh, what's better, cats or dogs?"
Yeah, I know.
They're two completely different species. Mm-hmm. They function entirely differently.
They both have their.
If I can tell you a pro about cats, then I'll move on. Is cats are so less maintenance than other pets.
Oh,
I mean, Clarice, sure, I got to change her litter box and I got to feed her. And I do like to try to stimulate her because she's a house cat. She doesn't go outside ever.
Yeah, she needs a little.
I like to keep her a bit enthused.
Like right now.
Like right now, she has a piece of paper, and this is entertaining to her. She loves it.
It's entertaining to me watching her chew the paper up.
But what I like about them though is that they're not super reliant on you. They still like you. Like they'll sleep with you.
Yeah,
and
they'll
stuff.
miss you when you're gone.
Yeah, but they're perfectly content just being with themselves. They don't even really necessarily need other cats around them even.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I like cats. I like dogs. I like both.
I do too. Yeah.
And Clarice is nice, and I always tell people with her too. If you can't tell, maybe it's obvious, but she kind of comes off as like shy or timid a little bit.
A little bit.
But she always comes up to people.
Oh yeah.
And she will come eventually, and she might not meow the loudest or anything like that, but she's certainly friendly. She doesn't bite people or do anything like that. In fact, I've had her for 3 years. I've never heard her hiss. Not once. I've never heard it happen.
Yeah, they don't. Well, yeah, and I think the fact that she's your only pet, that probably helps.
Well, I'm sure if I got another cat in, they would do the territory thing where like they go like,
and then they'd eventually get used to each other.
They make that like psycho noise where like they just like they stare at each other from the corner of the room.
And then you think they're gonna like gouge each other's eyeballs out. Yeah.
Yeah, it's cats are freaky.
I've witnessed that
Cats
before.
are freaky with
cat fights. Yeah.
Well, the other thing,
fur flying in the mouth, and
the other damn thing that cats do is like when when they see a bird, but like they go like.
I know they do like.
You know what I'm talking about?
Like the weird.
Like noises. they just like make like weird barking noises at them almost. It's not even a meow. It's just like.
Yeah.
Yep,
I know.
It's very strange.
I know those noises.
Okay, I want to start to wind this down.
So let's talk about the.
Yeah, I gotta wind this down. Talk about the message. I won't go into super detail on these unless one compels us to. But here's the ones that I wrote down. One, I think there's a message of not giving up in this movie. I think that's a pretty apparent one.
And you can say that about both George and Clarence. Because I always think about that at the end with Clarence, where he could have easily been like, oh God, this guy he's going to be tough, he's, wishing he was never born and this and that. And he's, instead of being like, well, I don't know what to do with him, he's like, let's go with that. Like, what if he had never been born? Let's show him how he's gonna. I'm gonna earn these wings. No matter
kind of makes me wonder, like, if he hadn't brought that up, was that his original plan? Because I don't think it was.
No, it doesn't sound like it.
I wonder what he was going to do.
Was like,
but what do you think he would have done if he hadn't have like done the whole like I'm gonna like make you not see that you were alive thing? Would he like just like try to talk to him? Just be like, hey man,
probably oh look at you got your wife and your kids and you got your job and things are gonna turn around and everything's gonna be better. I think he was probably gonna try to talk him out of it, but
probably. So I have don't give up. It's apparent. Good guys do not always win.
No.
Now, grant you, I would say in the end he does win.
Yeah.
But no, I think in life it does show you that even the best people in the world get squashed by life.
It's a long, and it's a long road to get.
Yes.
To.
I also think this movie is showing you that it has a pretty strong message apart from the things that you should appreciate of your life, but that you should know that your life has purpose. Mm-hmm. You're not just wandering around as a speck in the universe, that you have some significance. You are here for a reason. I would also say the movie is saying something about just appreciating the person that you are, just fully owning and accepting who you are for your good and your bad. I think that's apparent in there. And then I did not forget, I was going to talk about Mary and George, because I do think that's another, maybe not as obvious message of this movie, but I think that this movie, It's a Wonderful Life, actually illustrates how powerful a marriage can be, a healthy marriage can be on yourself and those around you. Because I don't think the movie is like that's not like definitely one of its bigger things, but the Mary and George relationship it's like couple goals. I mean, they fight, they have their things where they're not great. Goes on a but goddamn, she has so much patience with him, and then he's so tender and caring for her. He loves his kids. She loves the kids. She wants to have a good home for them, Clarice, or whatever. I don't know what you're doing. I'm in the line of fire right now. That's your new toy. She's gonna play with that or lay on it.
Don't touch the paper.
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, I need to trim her nails actually at some point. She's
okay. We've gone over the notes. You're good.
Yeah, she's just going over them, making sure that he didn't miss anything. Yeah. But I think the movie has something to say about marriage and the institution of it. And I'm not trying to be like super serious saying that marriage is forever. And anybody that's not married is terrible. Like, I'm not saying that. It's just, I think marriage is a good thing. And it's just nice to see a movie show a couple that perseveres and loves each other through thick and thin. It's nice to see.
Yeah.
It's nice to see.
And you kind of talked about earlier, like, that things happen for a reason, which I 1,000,000% believe that, but I always like the part that, or the whole thing of, that you can tell that they've always, especially her, she's always loved this guy, like, through her whole life, especially just being a little girl and on up to an adult, and, I mean, pretty much, it's almost like they've waited for each other all these years and didn't realize it. Maybe she more than he, but that's I'm always a sucker for that kind of thing where
destiny.
It's like like they grew up together and it just happened and they're like I'm always a sucker for that. It gets me every time. But I think that's one thing that led to it, that she loved this guy, and she does have so much patience with him, and she gets through his those times where he's just pissed off at the world.
Yeah, because there's times where, like, other people would maybe be seemingly okay with the circumstance, but, I mean, I can relate to that to a certain extent, like a lot of people could. Where it's like, even though, like, the things in your life, like, might be alright for the time being, there's still times where it's like, damn it, you want more. And you're tired of being held back, and you're just frustrated. You're just like, damn it.
Yeah, and
I get that.
And, I mean, you'll find this out. You're as a person that's upcoming going to be married.
That is happening.
And as a person that's been married for several years.
Yeah, what are your marriage tips? How do I not mess it up?
Well, I mean, there's it's kind of like their relationship in this movie. You got to be, I mean, and I'm not always the most patient person. But you have to realize that everybody's going to have their days where things aren't going right, or like you said, you want more. Like you have a goal in your life, and you get to a point and you haven't quite reached what you thought you were going to reach at that time.
Your idea of yourself.
Yeah, you're like, I'm here at this stage of my life, and this isn't where I thought I was going to be at this stage of my life. I want more. I know I can do more. I know I can accomplish this, but what's holding me back? And there's just going to be days like that where you're just, whether it's you or whether it's your future wife that, coming up here, and you just have to, like, you have to realize that it's not personal against you. It's hard to see that sometimes, because sometimes it's going to feel like a personal attack. Like, well, you always do this, or you always are doing this and whatever. And at the end of the day, you just got to realize that it's not it's kind of like when you go to work and like one of your coworkers is just having a bad day and they're just,
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, they're not mad at, this isn't me. They're just pissed off at the world right now, and I happen to be in the way. It's kind of like that.
Understanding and compromise.
Yeah, and sometimes it's hard. Sometimes it's hard not to lash back out and defend, defense. Because I've also done that. I'm guilty of that too. Like, there's been times where my husband, like, he maybe had a bad day, and he'll start saying something, and all of a sudden I'm like right back at him, like right at the throat, like, well, this is, So, I mean, but yeah, it just goes. If you're truly with your person, you're going to be able to overcome pretty much anything. I mean, there's things that we've overcome. Like in my marriage, like there's all sorts of things that we've overcome together and stuff that could have easily split us up because of stress or because of just what was happening at the time. But, when you're truly with the person you're supposed to be with, I feel like you're going to get through all that. And
I think in a way, Isola and I we're ahead of things when it comes to that. Like, I'm not trying to sound arrogant or anything like that, but in a way, we've already overcome things that some couples will never have to do.
Yeah, you have.
We,
just to get her here is
just getting her here. The distance and her being from another country. I mean, that's a whole thing in and of itself. That there's not many people. I mean, I don't know anyone personally that is in like the same exact situation as me that can relate to it. So it's not something a lot of people get, but there's a lot that goes into that, and I think there's a lot of people that would be like, "You're crazy for waiting that long or doing all that. Like, that's insane."
Well,
I would also say COVID. I mean, COVID. It was interesting because like we connected, thank God, and developed our relationship right before it. But then COVID came about, and we've known COVID in our lives more than we've known without it.
Yeah.
So that's a thing. There's also cultural differences, and those are still a thing.
Yeah.
It's not like we fight about it, but there are things where it's like I do things a certain way, she does things a certain way.
Well, yeah,
our upbringing is just so radically different.
Yeah, you're coming from two separate countries altogether, so there's going to be differences.
But there's a lot of things like that, but I think that's one of the things, it's one of the reasons I know why I'm marrying her is because I've never been able to get through some of the I'll just be frank, some of the shit that life has thrown at the both of us in the last 2 years. There's not like anybody else I would want to get through it other than with her because I don't know. It's just one of those things. Like, I guess it's like, if I'm going to boil it down to anything, it's got to be my faith in God. Yeah. Because, there's all these problems and whatnot, and they don't go away, but it doesn't feel like I'm having to work that hard with her on it. And she's willing, and she's an excellent communicator.
That definitely helps.
She's also extremely honest. And I, if you can't tell, maybe if you don't know, I'm a very blunt person. It might not always be pretty, but I just I suck at lying. I'm not really good at it. I don't like it.
And what's the point? What's the point really in lying?
I'm a pretty earnest person. I like to think so. I wear my heart on my sleeve. I can sometimes probably be a little too nice. One of those types of things. But no, anyways, I don't mean to turn this into a soapbox for like, oh, my soon-to-be wife is so great.
No, but it ties in. I mean, it does. It definitely ties in.
A relationship. Actually, it does. Actually, that's good that you said that because, and I'm not trying to be sexist. Anybody out there that's listening, but it also does show you from a man's point of view. Because again, I'm going to come on very sexist and like old-fashioned here, but having the right woman in your life. It's like George's mother says, like. Mary's the type of woman that can help you make sense of things, George. Can help you find the answers.
Help you be the person,
right?
Yep.
And, I mean, I think the same could be said for the opposite. Like, if a woman was like, this guy, he just makes me feel right. Like, I just feel like all is right in the world when I'm with this person. That's how I feel with Isola.
Well, yeah, and then coming from the girl's perspective on that same thing, I could say the same thing. Like, going back to when you said, the things that you've gone through, like you wouldn't have wanted to go through that with anybody. And that's why I feel like when you're with that, because I could say the same thing. Like, even though the times were tough, like if I would not have wanted to go through any of that with anybody else. Like it wouldn't have been, other than my husband. Because, it would have been, I can't imagine, like, some of the stuff going through with someone else. And I don't know how else to explain it, but.
Yeah.
But, yeah, and going into the woman's perspective of that, what you just said, finding the right guy, too. I mean, just standing next to your partner. Your guy.
And
just being there for him. Knowing that, sometimes, he's going to come in fighting mad, but you just got to be there.
I will say.
And the girls do the same thing,
No, but I'll say, I mean, Mary is a pretty good wife.
Mm-hmm. I mean, she is a very good wife.
Great mother of the kids.
Yeah.
I mean, she put a lot of work on that house.
Mm-hmm.
Puts a lot of work into the relationship. Yep. Always is patient with George. But she's also, like, she never came across as, like, being, like, I'm not saying, like, the damsel in distress, but she doesn't come across as being, like, a weak woman.
No,
she doesn't come across as being, like, okay, honey, like, whatever you say. Like, I'll just go back to cooking. Like, it's not that.
Yeah, exactly. I think
Especially for the time, too, because I don't know how normal that was. Because I'm not trying to be sexist, but even when I was talking about it with my mom, it's the late 40s.
Yeah.
Women weren't exactly career oriented.
Yeah, you came from from more of the, the woman stands next to the man. Yeah, she makes the home. She makes the house pretty and makes supper and
yes.
And that was the times back then, and sometimes it still is to an extent today. But
and Mary was.
And I like that. Like I honestly like that. I honestly have always felt like kind of, I don't know, touched by that kind of life, just being.
There's a simplicity to it.
Yeah.
For sure. Which I think that's one of the other messages, which is a good segue for that. Mm-hmm. Don't compare yourself to others.
Mm-hmm.
This movie definitely has a lot to say about material over wealth in terms of friends and family, and like your own integrity and character and the value that has over money, which I could talk about that at great ends.
Yeah.
But what did you just say before this? Because I was gonna tie something into that. I'm sorry.
I have a very short memory.
I could probably listen to the playback.
We talked about.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Well, whatever.
Going through life with your.
Yeah, I'll make it make sense. It's fine. I'll
you can ad lib some stuff in.
I think I'm good at ad libbing. I can do it.
Yeah.
No, but the thing about like money and all those different things, material and all that crap. Maybe that's the point I was trying to make. I don't even know, but I'm gonna try. I think there is something about like that simplicity. That's what I was trying to bring up. The simplicity of like not having to have all the money in the world, and like you're happy with your community. You don't need to have a lavish house or go do anything crazy. Which I personally I'm not gonna want a life like that. To be honest.
No.
There's a lot of things I want to see and do. I'd like to think I'm an adventurous person sometimes. Though I could be a creature of habit as well.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I just think don't compare yourself to others. I mean, really don't. I mean, and also I realize this day and age, social media is a bitch for that. Like, on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok, like, ooh, look at these people like floating in an island in Aruba, and like they have the perfect like sunlight, and like, oh, they got a drink, and like, well, okay, but
not really the thing for.
You can be cool and do things in your own right, and you don't have to share all that crap. And do.
And I could just be totally fine just sitting around a campfire every weekend. Yeah. I
mean, like your happiness is different for everybody, but I do think that the absolute truest form of happiness certainly does not come from things. I think it comes from experience, and that could be experience with people. It could also just be a personal, private experience. Like I've had some great moments in my life where it involves nobody; it's just me. So happiness is different, but the point is. With that, just don't compare yourself to others. Money comes and goes. It's not saying that you need to be an idiot.
You can't take it with you.
Blow your paycheck every day because you're like, well, I'm going to die tomorrow. So
sometimes just do it.
Probably don't do that. But just know that money is probably not going to keep you warm at night. Unless, of course, you have a shitload of it and then like you're laying under it.
You can lay in it and cover it like a blanket.
Could be cool.
Yeah.
You ever seen Breaking Bad when they lay on the money?
No, but I... No.
It's like a big brick of money. They just like lay on it.
Like, I don't think that'd be very comfortable, though.
No, probably not. But it would be cool to be like, I literally have laid on a bed made of money.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be cool for a moment. But then I'd be like, I'm kind of a POS that doesn't... Oh, I guess that's the other... I'm sorry, I didn't mean to randomly segue, but I think this movie also has a lot to say about sharing wealth.
Mm-hmm.
Not getting all socialist. Don't worry. I don't believe in that stuff. But I am going to say that it has a lot to say about a person that has a lot of wealth, but seemingly doesn't really do anything with it, like Potter.
Yeah.
He just really keeps a lot of it for himself, builds his business empire, and kind of screws over the little guy, and doesn't really care about helping others. And
besides the fact that he has, basically owns 80% of the town or whatever, what else does he really have to show for it? Like, I mean,
he has his cool carriage,
what's his overall goal
horsey
of
carriage.
Yeah, I mean, there's that.
Cool.
But what's his, I mean, when you think about people like that they like...
A person like Potter goes to the grave with like maybe like 4 or 5 people at his funeral.
Yeah, like is there even any
worked for him that are just like
they feel obligated to go because they're like, well, I know there's not gonna be very many people there, so I probably should go.
Nobody loves that guy.
No.
If somebody does love him, like, hey, God bless, but probably not.
Yeah, like. No. Yeah, I always wondered that, like people like that, like what do they think? Like when they're on their deathbed and they're just laying there
pissed.
thinking about life. Like,
I don't know.
Yeah, I got all this stuff. I can't take it with me.
Now
what?
I bet some do.
Now what? Like,
you know that? I bet some do. I bet there's some rich guy out there that rather than leave it to charity or give it to his family, he's probably just like burn it, put it in an urn, and let my dead arms cradle it when I'm in the grave.
Yeah, like throw it in the casket with. Yeah.
I wouldn't put it past.
Yeah,
some people are ruthless.
Yeah,
I
just wonder some people like how. Yeah, or do they get to that point where and they're like, you know what, I was a real ass. Like, shit.
Well,
maybe I should do something. Go out with a bang and do something good.
If I find a movie to talk about that focuses like more primarily on death, which there are some that I enjoy that do, that's actually always a conversation that I'm largely fascinated with. Is that when people reach the end of their life, like, does everybody necessarily like really truly have like that moment where they're taking it all in, so to speak, or they're like preparing themselves for whatever they think is next, even if they think that place being next is just being dirt in the ground?
And do they say like right before like your whole life flashes in front of you? Yeah,
but
like,
I don't hear a lot of people talk about that.
Yeah.
And maybe like I used to watch documentaries a lot about near-death experiences because I actually think a lot of those are endlessly fascinating.
Yeah,
they
really are.
If you know anybody that's like literally like been dead on the table for a minute, bring them to me and like let's like
let's talk about
I would love
that.
No, anyway, I'm gonna start to wrap this up. We've been talking for a little while.
Again. We tend to do that.
I figured it would happen, and this is a great movie. It's a great movie to be able to talk about. And there are just so many messages to unpack in a movie like this. And I think we talked about the ones that I wanted to cover.
And I guess wrapping it up about the movie, and it goes, basically right to the very end, with Clarence, how he says the quote of, "No man's a failure who has friends," which George obviously has a lot of friends, even though he doesn't always feel like it. I mean, everybody in the town loves him.
You know what, though? I think that's a perfect point to end it on. So I'm so glad that you brought that up, the message there, because...
I'm glad Clarice didn't eat this part. Because I wanted to make sure that...
Did she actually
eat any part of it? I don't think she actually did.
Well,
I think she just, slobbered on it.
Well, that's fine.
Yeah. That's okay.
No, but I like the part where they're talking about the no one's a failure that has friends, but I was going to say, let me think about this for a second. I was going to say something about that. Oh, yes. So another very human thing, and I can't imagine I'm the only person that feels this sometimes, but I have certainly been in positions in my life where I feel pretty alone. Like, I just feel like, you look at your phone and 8 hours go by and no missed calls. No texts. You're like, God, I'm a loser. Like no one gives a shit about me. Or you have like those group of friends or maybe a friend or two where you always feel like you're the person that's always having to reach out to them. They never reach out to you. Everybody's had this happen. Or it's like a comparison thing where you're on social media and you see some picture of like 10 people going out to dinner and you're like, no,
I'm sitting here at home.
I didn't get invited to that. Or it kind of goes on so on and so forth. But I feel like I'm always actually almost alarmingly aware of this because I think as social media and all these things have escalated and more people take the time to live vicariously through a device rather than through human experience.
Yeah.
I have thoughts
whole
on
nother
that.
Story. Yeah, we could go into another topic on that, but we'll not.
But the point is with that is that there is an increasing amount of people I seem to see, and I really don't like. Again, I hate generalizations. I say hate for a reason because most of them don't really capture the whole thing. It's generalizing is just that you're generalizing. But there are a lot of people out there that I think are very self-absorbed or self-absorbed. That's what I'm trying to say. They're just always concerned about what they're doing, what their little small circle of doing, family and friends, and they're not bad. They're not necessarily bad, but I just find that at the increasing pace that life demands of you, it's a dangerous and not healthy place to be in your life where you're not taking the time for people. And that includes even a casual loose friend.
Yeah.
I think it's actually fantastic if somebody takes the time, even if it's somebody I haven't talked to for 6 months, if they just send me a text out of the blue and they're just like, hey, it was just, I was thinking about you the other day. How are you?
I saw something and this made me think of you. Yeah.
That's it. And even if the conversation we have is 2 seconds and I don't see you for another year, you still reached me.
They took the time.
You still did something to take the time.
Few minutes out of their day to.
And we're all guilty of it.
They thought of
I mean, there's times I'm not always going to say I'm the best person that always reaches out to every friend that I have, but I can certainly tell you I make a lot more effort than the average Joe Schmo. I'll put it to you that way.
Yeah.
And anywho, I just think of that with the part of George and whatnot, because especially at your low points in your life, that's when you need to feel that you're not alone.
Yeah.
And if I have any sort of uplifting message at the end of this episode and tying it into that message, it's just even people that seemingly are always so eager to help other people, and we all know these people that always put others before themselves.
Yep.
Check in on them.
Yeah.
Honestly, especially check in on them because people like that out of fault sometimes can be so giving that they are being detrimental to their own self. And we want to cherish, we want to protect those people.
Yeah.
So just take the time and make sure that you're checking in on people, even if people are seemingly happy. If they're all good, check in on them too. They might not be happy. Yeah.
People are good at putting on. I mean, we're all guilty. I'm guilty of that.
Oh, yeah.
I've been told that.
If you go to a workplace, then you're putting on I'm not saying a mask because I still believe that you can be authentic to an extent at your job or whatever it is that you do. But yes, everybody puts on a mask.
Yeah. I know. I've been told that you always you can never tell when you're having a bad day because you always have to be that person that conveys everything's good and and I mean those people. There could be a time where they're going through something and maybe they're not going to act on it. Maybe they're just like, I'm going to get through it. Because, like you said, sometimes if you're kind of feeling that aloneness and, but that you're going to get through it. You're going to, everything's going to be all right.
Well, and I can tell you, even if, let's say that you're checking in on somebody that's not a vocal person or an extroverted person or someone that's even really is not a conversationalist, right?
Yeah.
I can tell you, it's been my experience that even if you take the effort and do it, even those people that might not really share so much and do it, there is always a part of them that's like, oh, that was nice of them. They might not say it. Yeah. You might not ever get thanked for it. You might not even get it acknowledged. They might not act like that it even mattered to them. But a small part of them will be like, All right, like that was nice that person
Yeah.
checked in.
Yeah, they might not be able to really convey it.
Yeah.
But that could have just changed their whole week.
Yeah.
Just one little act of.
And I've never heard
showing that you care.
And it's like I've never ever heard of someone, even somebody like that, being like, "How was your day?" Well, Jordan came up and asked how I was. What a dick.
Yeah, he
he
doesn't really care. He's just fake being nice.
Yeah, he's just trying to do
he's
something.
He feels bad. He just feels sorry for me, so he's.
Yeah, I've never ever heard of something like that. If it's coming from a place of true sincerity, when is that going to backfire?
Yeah.
It doesn't.
Yeah, it doesn't. It only takes a second to be nice to somebody. You could really change somebody's day by just one little.
You changed my day by being on this podcast.
You changed my day by inviting me, and.
You changed my life by existing.
You too.
I now ate cookies today because of you, because you brought cookies to it. Well, yeah, you gave me cookies, so.
Yeah. No, my work life is better because of you.
I'm sorry, I'm not trying to joke.
You brighten my day.
That's nice.
I'm being serious.
No, that's fair.
Whenever I need a walk to get up, I'm I'm gonna go see what Jordan's doing.
Yeah, I mean,
and then we talk for 20 minutes.
We should
get back to work, but this is better.
Yeah, but it's always worth it.
Yeah,
and I've never had even if it's with you or anybody else that I'm talking to, if I talk to someone and I might look at the clock and I'm like, oh crap, I talked too long. The work's not going anywhere. It'll get done. I'm not saying I just push deadlines and stuff. If I got a tight deadline, I'll be like, hey, I can't really talk right now.
But, when you're
people will still always take precedent over things, and
I
mean. Yeah.
Because your friends are your friends. Work's gonna be there regardless.
You spend more time with people you work with, and
you do more than
you do your family. And
yeah.
I don't know. I know it can be dangerous to put your armor down, so to speak, and be authentic with people because they can burn you. And I've certainly been burned, professionally before and personally, we all have. But I don't really care. It's worth it. It's worth the risk. And
usually you can kind of weed out those people that know are going to do that at some point, and then you realize the ones that aren't. And I'm going to say this, I'm a little bit older than you, not old enough to be maybe your mom, but
I don't think so.
But
no.
you're kind of like my little brother.
Oh, that's
honestly
nice.
We're not too far apart in age, I don't think.
No, I don't think so.
So I could be older sister to you.
Probably. I always wanted to have a sister, and
that's how I kind of think of you. So
that's cool.
I'm gonna just throw that out there.
No, that is. That's
cool. Why I bring you cookies and.
I like cookies
and talk to you.
I like these things. It's interesting.
I'm looking out for my little brother. I got a little brother, although my little brother is only 14 months younger than me, so he's not little brother, but I do have a little brother, so.
Those dynamics are always interesting, though. My little brother, we got a 7-year age gap.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's funny, because, he talks shit to me and all this stuff, and we definitely don't have, I'm your big brother.
Mm-hmm.
You need to listen to me.
I know.
Because, he's really brilliant, and he's smart in a lot of ways, and in fact, he's actually advanced in ways that I never will be. And it's just kind of a different mindset, but, I don't know, I've never... my older brother is probably the closest that I get of that. Okay, I feel like this person's my older brother. Even though my younger brother, I think when he looks at me, he probably doesn't look at me as I'm the older brother.
Yeah.
He just thinks of me as his brother.
Yeah.
It's kind of an interesting thing.
Yeah.
But I was gonna say this, and then I will shut up because we could talk all night. It's interesting when you give compliments to people. Because even I noticed when you were being gracious and nice and saying those nice things, it's almost like a weird thing I notice when people are genuinely giving compliments where you're just I hope that make you uncomfortable. Or are you cool with me saying I'm not saying that you did that.
No, you're almost you like it, but at the same time you're I don't know.
Because sometimes then they're just do I respond? Do I have to give something really sincere right now?
Yeah, do I have to say something?
No, but I bring this up because I think I think a lot of people, and myself included, could work on being more complimentary towards each other. I mean, who doesn't like to get a compliment? I don't care if you're one of those people that's just like, it's never about me.
I don't want to hear about
It's never about me. Like, I don't care. Like bullshit. If somebody says something nice to you, again, it's like the quiet person. A part of you is going to be like, oh, that was nice. That felt good.
Even though you don't know what to say.
Yeah, you might not know how to respond and whatnot, but I think more people could owe it to themselves to give compliments on a more regular basis without it having to feel like something that, like, oh, like, what is this person's game? Like, what are they trying to do?
Yeah, like are they just, what are they trying to get out of this? Like, can't you just be,
like, nice? It's like if you walk past someone, like, just be like, hey, I like your shirt. Nothing wrong with that. Like, oh, did you get a haircut? Looks good.
Yeah.
Like,
it doesn't.
It doesn't. Do something like that. It doesn't always have to be like. It's like if I like bumped into like you in the hall. Hey Kim, good morning. Did you know that you have made my existence be so much more? Like it does not have to be like some like
some life philosophy.
Like that
like,
just.
Oh my gosh!
Where did that come from? I was just getting coffee this morning.
That's so deep. You know? Like I thought we were just gonna go get a cookie. I don't know.
And like I think like you can flirt that line and you can do that, but people should just genuinely be more complimentary towards each other. Not saying you gotta be fake. You don't need to do that, but shit. Even like I said, I admit I probably don't give people as compliments as much as I should.
I don't. I'm sure I don't either. And
probably
you can find something nice to say about most people, like. Some people it's a little harder. You might have to sit there for a while, but...
There are people that I know, and I've probably talked to you about some stuff before. I won't name any names, or I won't do anything like dumb, but like, yeah, like there's people that I've had such problems with before, but even me, I can find something to be like, well... There's something like even like maybe like through this person and their actions I've learned something about myself even. Or maybe they opened my eyes to thinking about something this way even though I might not have wanted to.
That's true. Sometimes
so sometimes those people, while it can be awful in the moment and it can still be awful when you go back and think like you like that person was a dick 10 years ago and like
they haven't changed.
I mean I get that, but I don't know, it might be wishful thinking, but I think there's a silver lining to a lot of things, including people and their less than admirable traits.
Yeah, it does. It does go back to that. People come into your life for a reason, whether it's whether they're people that you aren't so sure that you want in your life. Some people, like, but they have a for some reason they came into your life at this point in time. To like you said, maybe they make you a better person because you see how much of a jerk they are, and you're like,
I mean, like I've had times where I've known a few people before, and I've just been like, well, this person made my life hell for a while, but you know, you ultimately walk away from it. You grew. Doesn't necessarily mean you always have to change part of yourself. You could just be more. You could be wiser, wisdom. Yeah. So I've always found that even the worst possible people on the planet can do that. But anywho, that's another subject. But anyways, final thoughts on this movie.
Final thoughts.
Clarence
got his wings.
He did.
Another
you sweet, that, Daddy? I can't do the
sweet, another sweet voice. Little moment in this movie.
It's nice.
Teacher says every time a bell rings, an angel gets its wings.
And then George Bailey's always like, "You hear that, Clarence?" He's
does his wing. He's like, "That a boy, Clarence."
There you go. I gotta stop doing the Jimmy Stewart thing, but I should end the podcast doing one more impersonation of him. What should I say? Can you give me like a line, or like I could say something like wacky, or I don't know.
Yeah, or you could wish everybody a Merry Christmas out there.
Ooh, that's true. I could just be.
This is our Christmas
emulate. This is the Christmas podcast.
This is the Christmas podcast. So just say a heartwarming Christmas message from James Stewart.
Here. How about this?
Who we all love and. Yeah.
He I think he died in the 80s.
Yeah.
I think. He was 89.
I think he did, yeah.
Died of a pulmonary embolism, which led to a heart attack, which
just sucks.
Okay, so could you fill the air for a moment? I'm going to look up a nice Christmas passage or message, but I'll say it as Jimmy Stewart.
Yeah, so I'll wish everybody out there a Merry Christmas, and I hope that everybody has a great New Year. Like we talked about earlier, make this the year to try to reach for one of your dreams that you've had. Don't just talk about it for the whole year and say you're going to do it. It doesn't have to be a big dream. Anything could happen. But if there's something that you've been wanting to do, just go do it. I mean, life is short, so just do it.
I like it. Keep going.
Make your dreams happen. Go on that road trip. Just do it. What else? Let's see.
These are not good messages that I'm finding right now. I'm trying to find like a good one. I'll find one here in a moment. It won't take long. No.
Channel your inner James Stewart, and what would he say? He's got kind of that funny but sweet, like just kind of witty, something that he would just say.
Okay.
You could.
Well, this
you could like recite the Night Before Christmas as James Stewart.
What's the night before? Is that like a story?
The Night Before Christmas, and all through the house, and a creature was stirring. You know that one?
I don't know that one.
You don't know that one? Oh.
Probably, maybe. I don't know.
Oh, trying to think.
Okay, this one looks fine. It talks about Jesus, but whatever. It's fine.
That's still Christmassy.
Okay.
That's the reason for the season.
All right, everybody. This is Jimmy Stewart from Beyond the Grave. I apologize. I apologize for what's about to occur, but okay. Merry Christmas wishes to you. Santa, he's coming to town, so watch out and keep a lookout for those black boots, as they'll be making their way down the chimney before you know it. May every nativity scene that you see remind you of the birth of our Lord. That is, I don't know what's happening to my voice there. The birth of our Lord. I don't know. Wishing you. Well, wishing you the peace of Christ this Christmas, and Clarence, old buddy, if you're up there, let some other damn poor sap like me get the help he needs and not jump off a bridge and freeze to death in the water, because that wouldn't be good. Hopefully they're married and got kids and stuff. Okay. I don't know. Merry Christmas, everybody!